What do you remember about the transition from grammar school to high school? That's a really big one, isn't it? A lot changes when you get into high school. It's big stakes. Okay, adolescence. We're at the adolescent stage. That's a big one. There's lots of changes here. We can all kind of recall that. All right, it was Hall who coined the term storm and stress. Storm and stress to describe the impact of the numerous transitions that we experience in adolescence. Now, it's true, this can be a turbulent and awkward period for many of us. Now, research also tells us, though, that some of us get off a little lighter in this stage. It's not for everybody. There's quite a lot of variance, is the point. And now, whether you were storming and stressing, right, through these years of your development, or whether you were sailing through them, there are several big transitions to be aware of here. The first one is, of course, the hormonal shifts in the body, significant changes to the body in this stage. And I think we see that manifested in, the whisperings in the classroom about who got their period, or the first boys just start kind of coming in with facial hair, that kind of thing. That's one way we register that change. A lot of kids will experience those physical changes with great expectation, and really enjoy it. Other kids find them a little bit unsettling. That's something to be aware of. Now, the other big change in this stage is the psychological separation from home and from parents, which is a big one. Many kids will start pulling away, right? They'll start wanting more space, spending more time with friends. And for those of us who are lucky enough to be in safe psychological environments, this will usually manifest in some form of anger, fighting, conflict, or irritation towards the parents or the family. Now, it also, I think, needs to be noted, though, that many of us will end up carrying big responsibilities in this phase. That's really important, sometimes for the family even. And this is a stage where, we kind of become almost half adult, and we can become a little more useful to parents who are under pressure, or parents in general. And a lot of kids will find themselves at this stage contributing quite a lot at home. Additionally, peer groups and belonging is another theme. Okay, which group do I belong to? Who am I? What's my status in this group? What's my status in this school? Am I in? Am I out? All of this stuff. Where do I belong? That's a big piece, right? Another thing that goes on is many of us will be working, not all of us, but many of us, and we might be working to get the things that we want. We might be working to get the things that we need. And dealing with this, with work, brings a growing awareness of the financial responsibilities and the challenges of sort of getting and managing resources and these responsibilities that are going to come more online in adulthood. We might also be trying to perform academically. And many of us, depending on, what our kind of learning issues are, many of us will be regularly encountering that we might have difficulties with this too. That's very normal for this stage of development. And as if all of this weren't enough, there's just that small matter of the pressures of our developing sexuality, right? So this is the cherry on the storm and stress sundae, so to speak. And there is a lot of, am I attractive? Who do I find attractive? How can I become more attractive? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Who's dating? Who's boyfriending? Who's girlfriending? Who's having sex? Who isn't? Am I normal compared to other people, right? And all of this is really a bigger sort of, who am I? A wondering about who I am. Identity is going through a lot at this stage of development. I think it's any wonder that we see some adolescents engaging in risky behaviors, right? Because it's an avalanche of new pressures heaped upon a body and a brain that are still far from done developing, So a lot goes on at this stage. And again, with huge variance in the pace and, of course, the circumstances in which this all takes place. Here is the gist, though. At this stage, we are gradually leaving childhood behind and getting ready to take up the responsibilities of adulthood. And that's really something to think about when we tune into ourselves at that stage. What does it feel like to leave childhood behind, right? And what does it feel like to face becoming an adult? Many children might feel raring to go, and many others do not. And for many children still, that issue might be forced by the circumstances. So this is really big stuff. And I think this is probably why those early adult years are showing up in research as a very sensitive area, which requires more support from adults. And I think there's a lot for us to think about in terms of adolescence. And when we reminisce about adolescence, it's important to understand the pressures that we may have been under and how much was actually going on, right? There's a lot of people who can get lost in later adolescence and early adulthood, you know? And I think for those of us who are parents, you know, when our kids are approaching these years, it's really important to find kind of new and creative ways to kind of keep them close, keep them tethered, while also respecting their separateness. It's a really tricky dance. And that's something, you know, you can think about in your reminiscence. How did that go between you and your parents? It's a really tricky phase. So here are a few reminiscence questions which might relate to your adolescence or might prompt some kind of remembering that's pleasurable or helpful, right? What do you remember about the transition from grammar school to high school? That's a really big one, isn't it? A lot changes when you get into high school. It's big stakes. Now, did you have a job as a teenager? Many people do. If you had a job, did you like it? How much money did you make? What was your boss like? Did you feel good at your job? What kind of responsibilities did you have at home? You know, what were you in charge of? Were you taking care of younger siblings, helping out around the house, cleaning, tidying, helping a parent, sometimes even contributing financially? What kind of responsibilities did you have at home? And what did it teach you? Did you feel similar or different to your peers at this stage? Sometimes that comes up for people. And how did you feel similar? How did you feel different? Did you have a friend group? What were they like? What kind of friends did you have? Did you enjoy it? Can you remember the popular bands, actors, or public figures, you know, the people that the kids were talking about at this time? Who were they? What were people saying? Sometimes that'll take you right back. Can you think of a song that was popular at this time? One that you maybe liked, you know, liked a lot. A song will take you back very quickly. And again, it's because of that auditory remembering, that remembering through the senses again. What kind of clothes did you wear at this point? You know, what did you look like? What were you practically wearing? That might bring a bit of a laugh here and there too. Okay. Did you date anyone? Did you have a crush on anyone? You know, what did you like about them? Was it reciprocated? Were there any little things that you might have been embarrassed about, right? This can be a self-conscious stage, can't it, for many people? For some reason, embarrassment seems to be a necessary feature of this stage. I'm not sure why. How did you feel about leaving high school? Did you have a plan? Did you not have a plan? Were you nervous? Were you excited? What do you remember about that? Getting ready to leave high school, become an adult. What were those post-high school years like? You know, I think this is very important. We often think like this is adulthood. You know, I leave high school and I'm an adult. In reality, I think we're still very much adolescent, you know. So what were those sort of in-between years like, you know, 18, 19, 20? Were you focused or maybe were you drifting? What do you remember about that period? What helped you to get through this stage? Was there anyone specific who was helpful or supportive? Good. Okay, there's of course plenty more we could be reminiscing about here. And possibly you may have even other things kind of popping into your mind. You can let your mind wander a bit if that's pleasant for you when we go through any of these stages. You know, definitely go wherever your mind wants to go. But for now, is there an image or a snapshot or something like that that captures this phase for you, right? When you think back, how do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself as an adolescent? What kind of pops up into your mind? And here's just another question maybe we could think about. It's such a sensitive age, you know. Are there any kind or helpful words that you would say to yourself back then, to your adolescent self, that might have been helpful or good? Okay, good job. That's adolescence. We move on to early adulthood next.